What's going on, everyone? Today we are talking tools, and specifically my top 5 recommendations for beginner bladesmithing. So if you're looking to get into bladesmithing, my recommendation for what I think you will get the most use out of and will be the most useful to you. Also probably good for anyone that's already into bladesmithing, but again, more geared towards beginners. So yeah, let's get into it. First things first, everything that I am pricing out today is going to be in Canadian dollars because I'm Canadian. So it'll all be in Canadian dollars unless I say otherwise. These tools aren't going to be in any particular order of importance of what I think you should buy first, second, third, except for the first one. So that completely contradicts what I just said. This is the only one that I think should be at the top of your list if you're looking into bladesmithing, and that is a belt grinder. I'll go get mine, which sounds crazy, but I'm able to do that. I'll bring mine over here and we'll talk about mine, talk about why they're important, and we'll talk about a few different options on what you can get based on budget. Alright, so this is my belt grinder. The belt grinder is, in my opinion, the flagship tool, the #1 tool for any bladesmith. Without this, it's going to be next to impossible to do any of the work that you need to do. You'll spend probably like 70 to 80% of your time making a knife using this thing. So it's really important to get a really good one that you like, that can handle your workload. This one's mine. It is a 2x72 with a 2 horsepower motor and a VFD. 2x72 just refers to the size of the belt that your grinder can run. So this is a 2-inch wide by 72 inches long, and as you can probably tell, I built this one myself. Now I did that because I wanted to save a little bit of money, and at the time that I was putting mine together, the only place you could really get a fully built grinder was in the States, and they were very expensive. I think upwards of, probably after shipping and taxes, upwards of $3,500. So it made more sense for me to get the pieces, put them together. I basically tricked this thing out to my exact needs. I put it on a stand. My stand has wheels. I needed that because I needed to be able to move this around my shop. I don't have a solid place to drill this into, and I knew that moving it around was going to allow for me to put it wherever I needed at the time. So the frame of this thing, which is literally just this, take this off, literally just this part with the tooling arm, cost me $900 Canadian, so after taxes around 1,100 bucks. The motor was around 550 Canadian as well, and same with the VFD. This stand I think was 80 bucks, and then I had all the plywood for it. So this stand was around 80 bucks. Plywood I already had. Wheels, locking wheels, I think were 20 bucks. I think that's pretty much it. These are extra, obviously, they're just extra tooling arms. The VFD, super nice to have. You're able to control your speed with a motor like I have. I almost never use it at 100%. It's so fast. So all in, this thing probably cost me around $2,500 bucks to make, which comes out to about $1,800 US. So I saved myself a pretty penny building this thing. Like I said, at the time that I needed to build it in Canada, there was not very many options, and this was the best one for me. Oh, and the light. I forgot about the light. That was about 100 bucks. So as far as tools go, as #1 tools go, a good grinder is definitely should be at the top of your list. Now, something to keep in mind with something like this, a 2x72, they are expensive, but they do hold their value really well. So if you get one and you don't like it, you can resell it and you'll recoup a good amount of your money. But if you're not looking to spend this kind of money, obviously there's other things you can get. Now I believe Ameribraid makes a 2x48 option, which are also great little grinders from what I've heard. So shop around, see what you can find. Honestly, it becomes one of those tools that once you buy it, you kind of say to yourself, how did I do without this the entire time? So, okay, for the next tool, we're gonna do drill press. The drill press has saved me so many headaches. Trying to drill straight holes through a tang of a knife and through the wood scales with a hand drill is an absolute nightmare. And these things, you can find them for so cheap. You don't have to buy one brand new. Go online, go Facebook Marketplace or wherever sells used things around you and look for a used drill press. This isn't a very good one. I think brand new, this one's like $100, but you can find it online for like 50. It'll save you so much stress. Being able to drill straight down on a controlled system like this is so handy. You can also use it for drilling tang slots and hidden tang blocks. You can MacGyver it to use it as a mill if you wanted, like I've done. If you've watched some of my other videos, you've seen me use this thing in ways it probably should not have been used, but super handy tool and so cheap. Get yourself either a clamp like this. I use this as a dual purpose thing. When you're drilling holes in your knife tangs, especially if you're doing forged stuff, there's always a chance that that drill bit is gonna grab the tang and spin it in a circle. And if that happens with a knife, when you're holding that down with your fingers, if that thing comes back around, you could lose a few digis. So this, I use it as a clamp to clamp stuff down as well, but it's also a stop so that if the knife does start to swing around, it'll hit this before it hits my hands. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, the next tool is an angle grinder. As much as I hate this thing, it is really handy to have. The reason I hate it is because this can be the most dangerous tool in your shop. When you're using an angle grinder, for whatever reason, if this disc catches something, these things will kick at you. Very scary to use. That's why I got a small one. I didn't want one with too much power, but they are super handy. I've also thought of this list as, you know, thinking every step of the way of making a knife. What do I need every step of the way? So if you're doing knife blanks, cutting out knife blanks, it's such a cheap tool. This one I believe I got on sale for about 45 bucks. And then the discs, again, if you find them on sale, these I got at Canadian Tire, which is, if you're Canadian, obviously you know what that is. Just a local hardware store. There's 20 metal cutting discs in here. I got them on sale for I think $8. So that's an insane price. It's a super useful tool to have. It saves you lots of time when you're cutting out blanks, as opposed to, I used to use a hacksaw angle grinder. I think one of the top 5 tools. Very budget friendly. Okay, next tool, the bandsaw. Now this one kind of falls under the same sort of circumstance and reasoning as the drill press. You can find them super cheap, they're super handy, great for cutting your wood scales in half, great for cutting down the shape of your wood scales. This one was a bit expensive, but that's just because I had a cheaper one that, again, was like $100 and I wanted to upgrade. Now you're probably thinking, why do I need this and an angle grinder? Well, this one can only cut wood. I know in the States they have that Porter bandsaw. I could never find them here. I don't know why. And even so, I think the Porter bandsaw is mainly just used for cutting steel. But regardless, this for cutting your wood, cutting scales, is an amazing tool. It'll save you time. It'll also save you money if you have a local lumber yard. You can just go and source hardwood for your handle material and then cut it down. That's what I've been doing. And that's where this thing comes in super handy. So yeah, bandsaw. The only time I would swap this out for a different tool is if you're planning on doing forging instead of doing stock removal. I would switch this out for an anvil and hammer, and then just source my handle material already pre-cut into scales and save myself time that way instead of having to cut all my own wood. But either way, I think this is a really good tool to have. Again, Facebook Marketplace or eBay or whatever, you can find one of these probably for under $100, I would assume. Always respect the bandsaw though. For that matter, respect all your tools. But I've seen lots of people cut up their fingers and arms on bandsaws. Respect your tools. All right, last but not least, we have the forge. Need something to heat treat your knives in. This one, I mean, it's a little worse for wear. I got cracked bricks. The back is opening up a little bit here. But that's what happens with a forge. You know, you need something to heat treat your knives in, unless you're setting them out to be heat treated, which you can do, but that adds up. I used to do that every once in a while, and then I figured I might as well build my own forge. If I'm doing carbon steel in-house, I'm comfortable, and now I have practice doing it out of this, which is really nice. So mine is a dual burner. I got these burners from Gamco, which is an Australian company. So these two burners, these are the economy burners from Gamco. I looked it up on their website. It's currently $251. I'm not sure how much I paid, but $250 Canadian comes out to about 185 American. Then I got the fire brick. This is soft fire brick. There's a difference between the hard and the soft. I got it from a local fireplace supplier. I'm pretty sure I bought like maybe a dozen bricks for under $100. I think it was somewhere around $60 or $80. And then I was very fortunate to have my uncle, one of his friends, welded the entire frame together for me, welded my burners in, so I was very fortunate. Nowadays, with the craft becoming so much more popular, you can find these a bit more easily than I could back in the day. There's Chili Forge, I think, is like the really popular one. And if you live in Canada, Princess Auto now sells forges. Again, they're a bit expensive. If you can build your own, I would recommend it. You'll probably save yourself, like, honestly, about 500 bucks. As kind of just like an overall rule, building something, yes, it will save you more money, but it'll take you much more time. If you can afford to buy something and have it shipped right to you all ready to go, that's great. If you want to build something on your own and save yourself some time and money, or sorry, save yourself some money, then also a great option. It just depends on you personally and what you're looking for and what you're able to do at that time. This I was very fortunate with. But if you cannot afford a forge, what I would recommend is getting fire brick. Fire brick is cheap. You can build yourself like a little cave. This is what I used to do. And then take a burner. Now, not a mag torch, which this is a mag torch. If you look around online, you can get yourself propane burners. And it's a burner that you attach to like a barbecue propane tank, and those things rip. I used to have one. We called it a boomstick. This thing shot flames like 3 feet. It was insane. That's what I used to heat treat my knives with. So you can build yourself like a little cave out of fire brick, throw your knives in there and slowly heat them up. Works really well. So those are my 5 tools for beginner bladesmithing. These are things that I have found over the years that I use consistently. They are the best tools that get me from start to finish on knives. Most of them are budget friendly, except for the grinder. If you're gonna stretch on one thing, I would say the grinder. You need a good grinder, you really do. This is probably my #1 honorable mention. If you have extra cash lying around and you're looking to get another tool, this is the one. Probably my most asked about tool in all of my YouTube videos, on my Instagram, everywhere. Everyone always asks me about this grinder. It's just a disc grinder, I guess you would call it. This is the old motor that I had on my grinder originally that I talked about before. It's 2 horsepower, 1700 RPM. Wasn't fast enough for that. It is plenty fast enough for this. I also put another VFD on this because having a disc grinder without speed control is psychotic. Because when this thing spins at full speed, you're grinding something along this flat axis. One side's going down and one side's going up. So if you're grinding a knife over here and you accidentally go across and you catch that side, it'll flip the knife right up at you. So if you're running this at full speed and that happens, make sure you have a will if you don't have a VFD and you're running a disc grinder, all right? Because that's where you're going. I was lucky enough that I had a base for this. This base is actually off of my old belt sander, which was a 1x48, and for whatever reason, all the holes lined up. Again, I have a VFD on this, and I have a reverse switch on this one. We can go one way, or we can go the other way. The disc I'm running on this one is 100% flat across. They do come with an option to get a beveled disc. I use this for flattening my scales, flattening the tangs on my knives, flattening grinds, flattening bevels. Another thing people ask me about is the leather backing that I put on this. So I'll put a leather backing and then sandpaper on top of this. And what that's able to do is, right before I go into hand sanding blades, the leather, since it's got some give to it, it smooths out the entire surface of the blade and makes hand sanding a million times easier. So yeah, disc sander is #1 honorable mention. Could have made the list, but it's not entirely important for beginning bladesmithing. So there we go. Those are my top 5 tools. Hopefully it helps you if you're just looking into bladesmithing. Hopefully it helps you if you're already in bladesmithing and you realized, maybe I need this, maybe I need that. Anyways guys, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.